What's up? What's up? What's up, Trek Nation? And welcome back to After the Snap. It is I, your good friend Tosh, and I am here today to talk about not X-Men 97, the Star Trek Discovery, Season 5, Episode 7. Is it 7? And this one is called Erigah. So just by the title, we know we're heading back to the Breen. We are going to see what's been going on with Moll and L'ak, and we also get to see the yeah, it is 7. Thank you, Win Grace. How are you today? Um, so yeah, we get to see a little bit of political intrigue with the Breen. So the episode is again titled Erigah. It is one that is ripe with political tension. So it raises the stakes for this season. The whole progenitor storyline has been a wild ride, and now this is one that could have seemed slow, but really the politics and the level of what was at stake really made this a good hour of TV. I mean, where was I? Where was I? And Erigah, we found out, of course, is a permanent Breen blood bounty. It was, gosh, now how did that get there? Let me see. Yeah, I got that in the wrong spot, don't I? And I know it's not going to fix itself. Silly me. I put that slide in the wrong spot. It might, oh, no, suck. Okay. You got to excuse me, y'all. Look, I took some medicine. I probably should have waited till after this stream, but I was feeling funny. So I'm already all effed up. So I'm going to move through this today. I'm not trying to rush us through Star Trek, but I know I'm not right now. So I guess that answered that question, huh? I took some medicine. I'm not right, and I'm going to move through this presentation today, unless you guys got lots to talk about. So the Federation is pulled into a diplomatic and ethical firestorm when the Breen arrive and demand they be handed over um, a L'ak. Yeah, L'ak and Moll. A frustrated Book looks for ways to help as Tilly, Adira, and Reno work to decipher the latest clue. So that is what we had going on today. And we know that, again, the Erigah is a Breen blood bounty. It was declared on L'ak and Moll for defying Primarch Rune. And in 3191, they sought this whole progenitor technology, and I put the year in there for a reason. They sought this progenitor technology. They wanted to trade it so that they can lift the Erigah. But, Captain Burnham doubted that the Breen would honor the deal. She told Moll and L'ak that they'll probably just take the technology from you and kill you anyway, which sounds like the Breen to me. So when the Federation captured the pair, Rune, he came to the Federation territory. He came to Federation headquarters and said, I'm coming to pick up my nephew, and y'all better have him ready. He didn't want anything from him because they offered him something like some crazy amount of dilithium, and he was like, nope, I want him. He's insisting on either the blood payment, the Erigah, or just the, hey, Justin, sorry about that. He wants his nephew, and the reason why he wants his nephew is because he wants to use L'ak to ascend to the throne in the Breen throne. So politics abound in this episode. I thought some of the imagery was nice. We see the ship and I forgot the name of the ship, so excuse me. We see the ship that caught Moll and L'ak. We know also that Non is security on that ship. And we also know that Non don't play. She does not play. She is a security extraordinaire. She don't play. So Moll and L'ak got away from Discovery how many times already in this episode? And when it became Non's responsibility or her ship's responsibility to catch Moll and L'ak, you see where Moll and L'ak are. They caught. And a capture of Moll and L'ak. And remember, Locke was injured. So that capture kicks off this standoff with the Breen, who want their prisoners to be handed over per that bounty, right? It is also revealed in this episode that Locke is the direct descendant and the scion of the former Breen emperor, making him crucial to the competing claims for the Breen throne by various Primarchs like Rune and Tahal. We learned about Tahal through Rayner and him telling his story. After the emperor passed away, everybody wants that throne. And because they are a ruthless bunch, it's like they are doing whatever. They're doing all the cutthroat means to get on that throne. And we saw, of course, and it's coming up in the slides, we saw that huge, just massive dreadnought ship from the Breen Federation over there. I'm sorry, the Breen Imperium now. Is it an Imperium now? I think so. So yeah, they brought that over to the Federation headquarters, and they didn't have to do that. So that's how Burnham, Tarina, and Vance, along with Rayner, realized that they got to want something else, because there's no way that they're coming over here, all the way over here, to demand us to hand somebody over to them when they could have just called me. They could have just called. A part of this episode that I truly enjoyed, besides Non being back, and besides Non being truly skeptical of Book, she knows Book's relationship with Burnham, and she knows everything that kind of happened with Book last season. So she is a little skeptical, but because Burnham's has this strong relationship with him, she gives him the benefit of the doubt. She said, well, you can help when we get to the point where we need that kind of help. We'll call you. Don't call us. We'll call you. And Burnham seemed to be getting a tad bit aggravated at Book for his inability to sit his ass still. Now, she still said he's a good man, but there were certain looks that she gave in this sequence that kind of focused her exasperation on Book. Speaking of books, we got the book for the book that a little diary or whatever it was that and I forgot which one of our progenitor team was writing in the diary, but Moll and L'ak ended up with the diary, and Burnham and Book ended up with just the Fred, the android. And Fred, the android, had read the diary. So they just kind of went through his mind to pick up the pieces of what was in the diary. But now they got the diary. They've got the actual text in their hand. We go down to the sick bay, because in the sick bay, that's where Moll and L'ak are. And Moll is being extremely protective of L'ak. At first, I thought Moll might have been putting on how much she loved L'ak, but it's painfully obvious that she really and truly loves L'ak, and that he absolutely loves her. So they're doing their thing where it's us against the world, and we're not telling you ish. You keep your hands off of him. Burnham came and had a conversation with L'ak, who has suffered injuries that could potentially be fatal. Now, Culber is saying, hey, we don't have the means to take care of this physiology. We haven't seen no shit like this since the Dominion War. So he doesn't know how to he doesn't know how to provide medical assistance, but he does know that L'ak and all the Breen for that matter, they operate better in cooler temperatures. So they say we'll lower the temperatures. Hey, Lysandra, what's going on, girl? Glad you can make it. Happy Mother's Day to you. So he Lord have mercy, where was I? Bun, remember I took that medicine? I shouldn't have took it because I'm already effed up. So me and her was on the phone together when I took the medicine. But L'ak, I've lost my train of thought. But anyway, we'll get back to it. Somebody will help me remember where I was. President Tarina and Commander Rayner had some good moments in this episode dealing with the Breen threat, with Rayner's backstory about how things went when the Breen occupied his home world. All of that added depth to his character, but it also made me think of Shaw an awful lot more. But I'm not going to take away from Rayner's performance because he reminded me of Shaw in a lot of ways. Tarina took the lead in the negotiations. She revealed also, y'all think this everybody is reliant upon these universal translators. So the Breen come onto the ship and they are talking ish in their language. And what they didn't realize is that Tarina speaks their language, boo. She was like, oh, I know what you said last summer and the summer before last. I know what you said. So she revealed that she spoke Breen, and now Rayner finally gives them some intel about his past with the Breen occupation of his homeworld, Calaroon. So Tarina also made mention that Saru was currently on a diplomatic mission, but not that far from the Breen territory at all. And she said that he told her that the factional wars within the Breen stem from a succession dispute amongst the Breen. So it is really, really, truly good that Saru was helping, even though we ain't seen his ass on screen in weeks. So I'm glad, yay, we got help from Saru, but we ain't seen him in weeks. I miss him. So what we found out about Rayner is that he lost his family during the Breen occupation of his homeworld to the Breen Primarch Tahal. So Tahal was the person in charge of that territory. The people of Calaroon started an uprising, and Tahal showed them just how ruthless she was because she used slow-acting venom from a Tau Ceti viper to kill them. And she wanted to use the venom from this snake to kill them because she wanted to watch them die slowly. So she's a piece of crap. I wonder if we're going to meet her this season. Rayner survived because Tahal admired his ferocious fighting style, which she likened to that of a Breen. Now, to me, it would make more sense that if you got a person who has the tenacity of a Breen, you'd probably want them dead. You wouldn't want them to give any ideas to the rest of the citizens, but they looked at things differently. It's like, oh, he's got honor, he can fight, so we're gonna keep him alive. Didn't make sense. Yo, what ripped? What ripped, Bun? Your bandage ripped? How the heck did that happen? Anywho, so the Breen end up coming onto the ship. Before we get to the Breen, let's look at some of these slides that I prepared. I liked this slide, and the reason why I liked it is because we actually see somebody who was in the middle of a transport. This is not somebody stuck in the buffer or anything like that. It is just that second or that moment before he fully materialized on or in the ready room, and I enjoyed that. I like that, so that's why I shared that one. I like to read stuff, but this has nothing to read. It's just saying about it. It needed to be translated. The signal or the message had to be translated from Breen, and the Breen was like, you gonna give us that dude? You gonna give him to us?" That's basically what the message said. We coming to get him. We picking him up. We'll be there shortly. Now, what Vance wanted to do is lie, say we ain't even got him. I don't know what you're coming here for. We don't have him. But Burnham was like, you know what? They're gonna find out we got him. They know, as a matter of fact, they already know we got him. They know we have Moll and L'ak. So let's not play the games and let's not have me and my ship jump away. Let's come up with a way to negotiate with the Breen, or at least feign some negotiations until we know exactly what it is that what move we want to make. So Burnham, eventually the bluff that they came up with is that they were going to give L'ak to Primarch Tahal because that she wants to use him as the same type of leverage to ascend to the Breen throne. So Burnham wanted to make sure that the Primarchs are fighting within one another instead of aiming their venom at the Federation. Okay, so I like this round table sitting. It looks so much like a freaking arc reactor for a moment. But I like the round table seating that they had as they discussed what their options were with the Breen. And we saw Rayner give his thoughts, which is the Breen ain't shit, and you can't trust any of them. And if you want to live, we need to start preparing to do battle with the Breen, because that's what they're coming here for. They're not coming here to talk. They're coming here to do battle. That's the only thing they know is violence. And Tarina is trying to explain to him that it doesn't look. I'm not stupid or a pushover, but I'm into doing these negotiations. Number one, because that is my style. But number two, it buys us time. Now, there was a question in the Discord, and if you'd like to be part of the Discord, the link to my link tree is in the description, so you can go there, become part of the Discord, and have these conversations on a regular basis with me and my friends. Dreamwalker asked the question, how long do Breen live? He said that Rayner implied that the Breen leader was on his planet when he was young, right? So he's saying, I mean, there was no Federation interaction with them since the burn, so that would imply pre-burn that Rayner was talking about. And what we have found out, let's first talk about the burn. Even though we're not supposed to ever talk about the burn, we're going to talk about the burn. In Star Trek Discovery, the USS Discovery begins investigating the cause of the burn. They began their investigations in 3189, so late 32nd century. Which is where we still are. We're only in 3191 now. Remember, I told you that's why I said the year. So it's been 2 years since the burn. The burn is estimated to have occurred in 3064. So we're looking at 125 years of the Federation territories being affected by the lack of dilithium. So they couldn't go at warp speed. So 3064, 125 years for a number of years in the late 32nd century. And of course, I got this from Memory Alpha. From Memory Alpha. For a number of years in the late 32nd centuries, Kelleroon was used as a Breen outpost, meaning that the Breen did not occupy the planet until kind of in the late 32nd century. We also know that Rayner and Vance have both been members of Starfleet for 30 years. They met 30 years ago. They've been friends for 30 years, and they've both been members of Starfleet for 30 years. And I wouldn't put Rayner to be much older than maybe 60, maybe 60 something. He's not that old. I mean, to some people, 60 something is old. To me, that ain't that old. So it doesn't require him to have a long life, to be a long-lived species for all of the stuff that they said in this episode to have occurred. The Breen took over his planet in the late 32nd century. The burn occurred in the late 31st century. So he was probably born under not occupation. They probably hadn't begun to occupy his planet yet, but he was still old enough to remember what happened. If you following me. So the Breen showed up with no warning, chose the planet as a forward base and munitions resupply hub. The planet's forests were clear cut, the seas poisoned, and the sky blackened. It's unknown how many Calaroons died during this time fighting the Breen, but fight they did. And again, the reason why, for whatever reason, the reason why Rayner is still with us is because he fought pretty damn hard. Wingray says in TNG era, humans could live to 100 years easily. Do we know what the disco era human lifespan is? Maybe Vance is 225 years old for all we know. And this is true too. They could be older, but however the case you look at it, it was only 125 years of the burn. And some of these people were born before the burn and had to learn how to live during the burn. And some of these people, all they've ever known is the burn. So once things went back into, we have enough dilithium and you can move around at warp speed, that is what was new to these people. They never had experienced this before. But here we are. Hey, Clarence, how goes it today? Now, where was I? I don't know if you all heard. I'm gonna move through this pretty quickly today because I took some medicine that I probably shouldn't have taken before I did the stream, and it's fucking with me, y'all. So Tilly, Adira, and Reno. I thought this was going to be a bigger part of the story, Reno especially. It's like Reno, they only have her on set or something for a certain amount of time, and they try to just record all of her lines at one time, it seems like. And she doesn't ever really have a whole lot of interaction with the crew, with the rest of the crew. She's, I just don't like the way they use Reno sometimes. And this is one of those times because it's like we could have seen so much more of her, but they didn't do it for reasons. But Tilly was about to leave. She was about to go back to Starfleet Academy because she had heard that the Breen were about to show up to go pick up L'ak and Moll, and she was like, "I gotta go check on my kids." And he was like, and Stamets was like, "Them kids, okay? They're fine. We need you here." Yeah, I liked her in this episode, but I would have liked to have seen more of her. It's just they don't use her enough, and it's like, okay, we got somebody here that we all seem to want to see more of, and we can't get more of her. And I know she's a busy person, and she might only have a couple of days here and there that she can film, but I would have liked to have seen more of her throughout this season, especially knowing that this is the last season. So hopefully she gets more to do in these last couple of episodes. Stamets needs her help to solve this clue or to figure out what the meaning of the clue is. Now we find out that the clue is a library card. It's a library card for what was the name of it? The Eternal. I'm gonna call it an ancient space library because that's all I know. The ancient space library. They got the library card. Now they got to go there and find the Beta Z clue. And once they find that clue, they'll be able to put the whole thing together, and they'll be able, I guess, to figure out how to get to the progenitor tech. Oh, y'all talking about the Beatles still. That just Moll, of course, Moll doesn't trust the Federation for whatever reason. She's got her reasons, I'm sure. She doesn't trust the Federation, and she keeps showing them by any means necessary that she does not trust them. And even the looks on her face is like, I don't trust y'all. Don't trust y'all as far as I can throw you. So we got a lot of L'ak on this table, but L'ak also explained that it would be better to die than to go back to Breen. And he made it very clear that would be a fate worse than death for him. But we don't want him to die, right? We wanted him to stay alive. He's leveraged. No matter how you look at it, the Breen cannot destroy this ship as long as L'ak is there, because they need L'ak. So if something happens to L'ak, all bets might be off. And sure enough, something happened to L'ak. And all bets, surely, there's a lot, Clarence, a lot of stuff that ties us back to the TNG Voyager DS9 era, because we haven't seen Breen physiology since the Dominion War. And the last time that the Breen visited the Federation, they were coming for the Dominion War. Then we had I'm talking about the Breen physiology. I'm talking about the last time the Breen were in Federation space. They talked about, what did they talk about that made me think about DS9? The Badlands. They talked about, no, that was Voyager. They talked about the Badlands. They had a reference for everything in that era, which is, it almost makes me feel like we're going to go back to that era. For some, not going back in time, none of this timey-wimey-ish, but there is something important from that era that we need to know. And we also know that the progenitors showed up in TNG The Chase, which would be in that era, so that era, it seems to be, if it's not the most important, it's very important in the history of Starfleet. Look, man, I can't read sometimes. But I see you guys are agreeing, so I'm gonna agree because y'all agree. So L'ak is trying to create a diversion because he wants Moll to have an opportunity to escape. To not only escape, to get that last clue. So they still thinking of ways to be the first. But of course, love will make you do some crazy things. But they still trying to be the first to get their hands on this progenitor tech. So L'ak is like, I'm going to create a diversion. You escape because I can't go with you. You escape. And then you get a ship or whatever, and you beam me with you. So now he sends her on her mission, and she's on her mission. She tried, but the way that he went about sending her on the mission was by causing himself to overdose on, what was the name of the stuff? Tricordrazine. We heard a lot about tricordrazine. I had to look it up. We heard a lot about it from Star Trek TNG, mostly, a lot in Star Trek TNG. He wanted to give himself a extra dose so that everybody would have to come and check on him, but he gave himself too much, and because it's really easy to overdose off of this tricordrazine, he gave himself too much, and he ended up passing away. So L'ak is dead, and that is a tragedy, not just for Moll, but for the Federation as well. Because Moll, of course, we just talked about, Moll don't trust the Federation. She doesn't trust them at all. So she goes to the Breen and tells them about the progenitor treasure. She's like, we will give you the treasure if you just Yeah, we'll give you the treasure if you let me come with you instead of staying here with the Federation where I might be safe. I'm gonna go with you to look for this thing, and I'm pretty sure, and they allowed it because they found out that her and Locke were more than boyfriend and girlfriend, that they were married. I'm gonna push through my slides because I've been talking. Oh, but this right here was everything to me, y'all. When it got extra dark on the ship, you could see the shadow of that dreadnought coming. It looked like an eclipse. And then there it is. Bam. I'm gonna leave that there for a second because boy, that was something. Um, yeah. So now the Breen are fully in the race for this progenitor tech, which they keep saying it's the greatest and most destructive power in the galaxy. And now the Breen want it. So we know that in some alternate timeline, Burnham saw what happens if the Breen were to get that tech. Breen saw them. I mean, gosh, I cannot get my mind right. I'm so sorry, y'all. Burnham saw a future where the Breen had captured the progenitor's technology and destroyed the Federation. And that was in that Face the Strange episode. So this episode, again, we got genuine stakes. We got genuine tension. We had political intrigue. We've got movement on the last progenitor clue. We had those strong moments for Tarina and Rayner, and then the Breen. We saw more of the Breen, and we got another understanding of the Breen as well. Where was Pollard for such an important assignment? She's probably with Detmer and Owo. McCoy um OD'd on regular cortisone in City on the Edge of Forever. Yep, must be 3 times as bad. They said that it is it doesn't take very much at all to overdose on it. So yeah. Non mentioned bringing someone back to life with the progenitor tech. Exactly. And I believe that that's where we are. That the reason why Moll wants to go with the Breen and get the tech is because she thinks that she will have an opportunity then to bring Locke back to life. That's speculation. We don't know that, but it looks like that's where we're going, right? That she's going to use this tech to bring Locke back to life. And then what? I myself have theories. My theory is it's pretty simple, that Locke ends up coming back to life. Um and it probably happens after they discover, of course it has to happen after they discover the progenitor tech. And because he is the next, he is bloodline, he is the successor to the bloodline. I think that he may become um the, what are we calling it? He's going to be on the Breen throne. I don't know what we're calling it though. Yeah, I don't know what they call their leader. I don't remember. But I think that Locke ends up being the leader and that he leads the Breen in a different direction than we've seen them going all of these years. We might actually get to see a Breen in Starfleet if this goes the way that I think it's going to go. There's also another possibility, and that is that Moll is pregnant, and that's the successor to the lineage for the throne. And Moll may decide that she wants her child to sit on the throne. But there's so many questions that still have to be answered about Moll, um, and the Cleveland Booker thing with Book. Um, there's a lot of questions still up in the air, and I'm kind of looking forward to how they conclude or give us an answer to some of the things that we're wondering about. By the way, if you guys are here, I appreciate you being here. Please hit the like button. Make sure you've subscribed if you've not yet done so. And turn your notifications on so you know when we're doing this again. Now, Wingray says, I am still confused how they can get the tech, even if they beat Discovery to this final place when they haven't assembled the full key thing. I don't know. Maybe you don't need the key thing. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. That's crazy to me too. I don't know. Wingray says, my thought is that the progenitor tech works to create and recreate life. But it requires life to power it. Lots of details. I'm going to make a video, I think. Well, good, because I'm going to need to see that video and wrap my mind around what could be happening. Where are we going with the end of the story? They haven't lost me yet. I'm still along for the ride. Again, I was here for this week's. It was not like last week, kind of a slower mission and away from the main story. We're within the main story, but they still slowed things down, and they slowed things down in enough of a way, in such of a way rather, that what they were, the discussions that they were having, it kind of made me feel like on a lesser scale than Andor. Andor is so much as about the political intrigue. And I think that's what makes Andor so fucking fantastic. This is a great episode. It ain't Andor, but it really is a good episode. And it does give you a whole lot to think about. What else? What else? What else? I know y'all gonna talk about me. This is a really short one. If you guys got anything, put it in the chats so that I can make sure that we're hitting on all cylinders here. Oh, I thought this was so dope too, that when they first talked to the Breen through the hologram, just this huge Breen head comes up. And I really like Tarina checking the Breen when he thought that he was speaking in a tongue that she didn't understand, and I can speak freely because I'm speaking in my native tongue. And then you find out that she speaks your native tongue. Tarina ain't no joke. Tarina showed exactly how formidable she was in this episode. Now, Tarina was there at the request of President Rillick, so President of the Federation, Rillick. She couldn't be there. This is another one of those things where like Clarence asked, where was Pollard on such an important assignment? Where was Pollard? She should have been the one looking after Moll and L'ak. Then we see the same thing here. The president, wherever you were, you could have just had Discovery jump there and jump to Federation headquarters because you needed your ass. Unless they were afraid that the Breen would just attack and kill the Federation president. You don't want the Federation president there if you know that there is a potential for an attack. But she should have been there too. She should have at least been a part of the conversations. And I understand though, show business. Yep, so many people missing in this episode. It was a lot of people missing in this episode. And that's getting a little old, but again, you try to understand why these things are happening. And it's nothing about like within the show. It is actual the business part of things. And I'm a little fed up with the business part of things, but we only got a couple more episodes to go. So let's just enjoy the last part of this ride, Wingray says, speaking of which, are we ever going to follow up with that Vulcan Civil War thing they teased? And also, we also need a wedding. I don't think we're going to wrap everything up. So there's going to be a wedding. Maybe do we see the wedding? I don't know. We know that Tarina and Saru are going to get married. It's a possibility that we see Burnham and Book make their little trek down the aisle. It's a trek. They make their little trek down the aisle as well. I still hold out hope that, that they'll just go ahead on and get married. But that's not important for the story. It is important to close out what our relationships with these characters. Even though there's a possibility that we see many of them on Starfleet Academy, or there's a possibility that we see none of them on Starfleet Academy. We won't know until we get closer to Starfleet Academy if we're going to even get it. Who knows? Shit. Who knows? Yeah, so I said that Rayner reminds me an awful lot of Shaw. We're seeing a person with PTSD hurting, and he has no faith in the Breen. Even though you got one Breen, even though he's done some jacked up stuff, L'ak ain't innocent. But you got one Breen who is actually thinking differently than the rest of the Breen. So that should give you hope that there is a chance that anybody can change. Rayner don't feel like that. Rayner doesn't feel like the Breen will ever change. And because he feels so strongly about it, that's what makes me feel like they'll change. So anybody got anything else? Well, there's that damn library card. So hopefully, we get to this big ass library and we find the answer. And next episode is 8. We'll have 2 more. Yeah, this ride is getting a little bumpy. It's nothing wrong with the episodes. The episodes have been fine. In fact, for this episode, I probably would give it, and I've been hanging around the 4s lately, but I think a 4 is plenty for this episode. Even though there were some character moments that I truly loved, there were also some questions that made me kind of scratch my head. And again, it's another one of these weeks where people who have a pretty decent knowledge of Star Trek are asking questions after the show, after the series, or I'm sorry, after the episode is over, that should have been answered in the episode. And we come up with these questions, and it means that some of the things in the episode wasn't explained as well as they could have been. But this was not as bad as the one from last week, the week before last. This episode gets a plus 0.5 to the final score as a non-bonus. Yeah, I can see that, because I really do like that character. I like the actress, and her presence is such that it doesn't even feel like we've been a whole season without her. She really brings it when she's coming. These last few slides here are the death of L'ak, and you can just see the amount of reverence that Culber and Burnham are paying to him. I just don't understand why Moll would think it would be a safer bet to go with the Breen than to stay with the Federation. Unless she has kind of internalized this whole race, and now it's like, oh, they're the enemy because we're racing them. I think I would have felt safer staying with Discovery. Burnham has been nothing but kind to her. They did everything in their power for L'ak. L'ak would probably still be alive if he hadn't pulled the stunt that he pulled. And he did that again for her freedom. So the amount of love that these two obviously share for one another, he's not only is he willing to lose his family, leave everything he knows, leave the planet that he grew up on, and leave his culture. He's definitely willing to die. He played Russian roulette and lost for Moll. And I appreciate it some of those things in this episode. So, what do we think? Does anybody have any idea of where things could be going moving forward? If you have some ideas, put them in the comments below. I'm interested in hearing them. But yeah, for me, it's still a 4. Even though I loved Non being there, even though I love the political intrigue, even though I love what we learning more about Rayner, who and he he knew he had all of this information about the Breen back in his mind. Why would you wait until that point to share it? So the more I talk about this episode, the more nitpicks and gripes I could come up with. But it could also just be that I'm in a little funky ass mood because this medicine messed me up. I should have waited to take it. I knew I should have waited. But here we are. Here we are. Do we have anything else? Because everybody wants L'ak. Well, yeah, that's the part that we talked about a little earlier. That she's going to use we know that if they get there first, or it doesn't matter really who gets there, they're going to use that tech to bring L'ak back. So now the question is love that Burnham was just a facilitator in this episode. Yep, sometimes we need her to take a step, kind of back and let the ensemble do the work. But I really liked Tarina. I appreciated learning more about Rayner. I really liked Tarina in this episode. Because she really showed she was, again, she's playing 3D chess. The Breen were playing checkers. She was ready for the ass. So I liked that. Is there anything else? Is there anything else? Because I don't have anything else. If you guys got ratings, put them down in the chat. I'd like to see what you guys thought about it before I get out of here. Because this is just, I'm in a bad way today, y'all. But we're going to try to make sure tomorrow I'm going to rest up because it's Mother's Day. Clarence, tell Ashley happy Mother's Day. Everybody in the chat, mothers or that have a mother or that know a mother, give a mother a hug tomorrow. Give a mother a hug every day, but especially tomorrow. But Clarence, make sure you tell Ashley happy Mother's Day. Oh my gosh, how exciting. This is like her first, I think. Does she have any other children? See, I'm putting it on her. This is her first. I think this is her first. But it's so exciting when first Mother's Day. Everything is exciting. I know, Clarence, you've been around the block a time or two with this, but I cannot imagine the exhilaration that she has to be feeling. She like, oh wow. I can imagine her looking at her just like, oh wow, I'm your mama. Thank you. Vulcans. Oh, you're welcome, Ashley. I know you're excited, darling, and I wish I could just be there to give you a big old squeeze for your first Mother's Day. Vulcans are lying liars who lie, but logically, they can't lie. Vulcans cannot lie. We've been told that a million times, and they was probably lying when they said that. So yeah, I actually I'm gonna get my ass on up out of here and start my Mother's Day festivities a little early, which is going to just be getting my butt in the bed. But everybody, uh, be safe and enjoy your day tomorrow. Hug your mama. Mother's Day is kind of tough too sometimes. Maybe that's what it is. Clarence, you're giving it a 4 as well. Wingray says that Vulcans don't lie from a certain point of view. Thank you, Wingrace, for your Mother's Day wishes. Oh gosh. Yeah, so I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna hug my grandchildren and their mommy because this ain't her first Mother's Day, but this is her first Mother's Day being the mother of two children. So I got to go in there and put a little love on her too. And yeah, we'll be back here Monday to talk about a very divisive pair of episodes of Doctor Who. Because spoiler alert, I didn't feel like everybody else or like a lot of other people. And we're going to talk about that. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about Doctor Who. So, with all that being said, I've got nothing else today, y'all. I'm sorry to cut it short. I know I usually talk longer, but I explained and I know y'all understand. So, I will see everybody in the next one on Monday. Peace.